know, if you like competition fishing, the next couple of days are going to be something just a little bit extra special. This is the 4th Airflo Spring Invitational. Now, we've got some of the best fly anglers in the country preparing to take part in what's become the biggest match on the fly fishing calendar anywhere in the world. And they're fishing it here at Rutland Water. What more can you say about this venue? Just an incredible place. Michael, what's it like coming into this event as defending champions?
Good, yeah. So we had an idea of what to do last year. Obviously, it's a different time of year. However, the guys are confident enough. Our practice has been okay, to be quite honest with you. But for what we don't have in good practice, we do have in determination, so we'll try our best.
Guys, I'm sensing there's a fair amount of adrenaline flying around this morning. How are we?
Really looking forward to this one. We're really up for this one. And it's nice to get on the lake when the conditions are absolutely perfect. It's been fishing well, not too easy, just what you want for a match really. And I'm going to weather today and tomorrow. It's mouth-watering out there. It should be a really good match. Different areas, plenty of places to go. Yeah, I think we're all up for this.
Genuinely, this is the best field in fly fishing at the moment. It's a high standard. There's probably 12 teams that I wouldn't be surprised to see win it.
That's a hell of a mix, isn't it?
Yeah, there's 12 teams that are good enough to win this out of the 20.
What are your thoughts, think, Kev?
We're going to try and split the team as best we can. There's specific areas holding fish, and get as many boats as we can on those areas for as long as we can.
To be part of this with such a with such a fantastic field of anglers is just amazing for me.
This is the prestige. This is the event I want to win, and we will win it. You heard it here first.
Well, we're underway. The boats are disappearing off to wherever they're going to fish. We'll talk about that in a second. But first of all, I need to introduce you to my co-commentator, Billy Rankin, who you'll notice has got lots of England badges all over his jersey. Billy, this is going to be one hell of a weekend.
Well, the thing about this match is it's the best people, fly fishers in the UK, Ireland, in the best fishery in the UK at the best time. And that's what makes this match absolutely cracking. I mean, it's going to be brilliant. And the water's clear, conditions are perfect. It's going to get better tomorrow. The wind's going to change, so it's going to make it harder. So it's going to be a great match.
Now, one interesting thing has happened this year. If you've followed our coverage of the Airflo Spring Invitational for the past couple of years, and it has always been an epic match. Last year, I didn't have him as my co-commentator because of COVID things, and we had Gareth Jones, who is one of the organisers of the competition. Gareth's not here, is he?
Yes, we had a lot of trouble getting him to stay in one place when I was last here. He just wanted to go fishing all the time, but this time he's snuck under the wire, hasn't he?
Yes, he has, because Gareth is actually one of the competitors taking part in the competition. He's fishing for the Nymphomaniacs team, who 2 years ago won the trophy. This is going to be a really, really interesting competition because I'm sensing nobody really knows where the winner's going to come from. There are lots and lots of different edges that people are going to try to find. What's your feeling early on? What's your thinking?
Well, I think early on these fish will produce today, but I think tomorrow is going to be a different ball game. The wind's going to change right way round to the southerly. It's northeast at the moment, and the people have been practicing a lot. They know where the fish are, but they have fins and tails and things, and they move.
One of the things I always find fascinating at the start of one of these matches, you'll notice around us, it's all nice and quiet now. The boats have all cleared off. We need to get out on the water. But that split of where the boats go at the start is always interesting. Was there anything you kind of gathered from you saw who was disappearing off left and right?
Well, I heard that it's been fishing very well up the arms, and the main bowl is on and off. If it's on, it's on. If it's off, it's off. But there is areas that fish all the time, because this place gets fished regularly, 40 odd boats out every day apparently. And everyone's, I think, today, seeing the split, have gone for a little bit of a flyer down on the dam. And whether that pays off or not, whether they're there and they're ready to be hammered, that's another thing, that we will go out and see what's happening.
Yeah, we best get into it and see what's happening. Well, Billy, we've motored up to the dam wall. Everything's underway, and we're looking straight over at boat number 11, a rear view of Reservoir Dogs angler Gary Morris, and that's the second fish I've seen him land since we arrived. There's a few fish here, aren't there? There's another fish on boat 13. Interesting stuff.
Yes, it's not as quite as hectic as I thought it would be, but they're lovely conditions as well. It's absolutely perfect. And there's also, I thought there'd be a lot more people sort of pulling and I call it yakking, but everyone seems to be calming down and fishing very slowly, which is good.
Yeah, Ian Barr was mentioning fishing the yakety yak this morning.
That means they call it yakking is when you pull really fast and it goes yak, 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 yak.
Gary's just slipping the net under that one. As I say, that's the second fish I've seen him land. The fish, of course, are stocked fish. Quite a lot of them get put into this fantastic piece of water. Rainbow trout and brown trout are the quarry today. And the idea is to try and catch, as I say, your 12 fish. You catch 3, kill those first 3 for the table, then you put 9 back, and then you get a time bonus for how quickly you finish, don't you?
That's right, yeah. So you finish at 12 o'clock as an 8-hour match. That'll be £6 time bonus. Get about £1 an hour.
The interesting thing, of course, as well, is that you weigh those first 3 fish. So if you catch 3 big uns early on, and then do really well with your other 9, the ones you've released, and get back early, you're in a really, really good position. I'm sensing this is going to be quite a special competition.
So am I. I think if someone goes out and has a really good day and nail a few good fish, and there are areas that's the beauty of Rutland. There's areas where there's some big fish, and if you can get a couple of those and finish your day quite reasonably, you haven't got to finish it like silly early, but if you finish about sort of 2 o'clock. You're going to win it. A lot of these matches this early in the season are all won by bigger fish, I think.
Well, Billy, an interesting first 25 minutes, half an hour of this match. We've seen a few fish caught. We've seen Gary Morris, who's obviously caught 2 fish. Rob Sosby, we see him here landing a fish. That's the second one I've seen him catch. And we're currently looking at boat number 9, which is Craig Barr and Ben Beckwith. The Flash Attack Reservoir Dogs, the guys in the yellow hats, seem to be having a half-decent start, because I think Craig has had 1 fish and his boat partner Ben Beckwith also with 1.
Well, it's only the first hour of the match, and time everything settles down. So a lot of boats come over here, so it needs time to settle down. I'm surprised there's not more fish to be caught. The conditions are just absolutely perfect.
Craig, of course, knows this water inside out and actually was the individual champion a couple of matches ago in the Spring Invitational. Of course, we know also his brother Ian, double world champion, is somewhere else on the water, and I know he's been pushing things very, very hard this week. We'll try and find him a little bit later on and talk about what he's doing. Talk to us a little bit about the tactics, though. You mentioned buzzers. Well, they're the chronomids that you were talking about earlier on.
That's it. Well, you've got to fish static, but what everyone's doing at the moment is probably got 2 very bright flies either end of the cast, with probably 2 nymphs or 2 cormorants, which are black flies, in the middle. And what they're doing is mixing up the retrieves. They're fishing slow, they're fishing fast, they're pulling, they're roly-polying, and then just try to tease the fish on. It's called mess them about sort of thing, and that, especially with stockfish, can work. But they're definitely not on the feed because there's not much hatching. So that's probably why it's very slow. It needs it just to warm up a little bit and then get a real good buzzer hatch going, and I think it'll go alight.
Well, if you wondered where the man who's been our co-commentator for the first 3 of these events is today, Billy Rankin, there he is, on the boat with no number, Gareth Jones on the point. He sneaked into the competition. What a liberty.
Absolutely, and he's looked like he's in his absolute element. He loves it.
His happy place, isn't it?
Happy place indeed.
As you said earlier on, one of the issues that we've had trying to keep him under control as co-commentator is stopping him grabbing a fishing rod and disappearing off fishing every time we've come here to Rutland. And you can't blame him. It's a fantastic place.
He's the most enthusiastic man I know about fly fishing. I thought I was, after 40 or 50 odd years of fly fishing, but he's absolutely amazing. And is just to, progress the sport as much as he can. He's absolutely a first class ambassador for the sport.
Well, I don't think there's anybody who's progressed fly fishing more than Gareth, that's for certain. Now, it's interesting watching them disappearing off, because Gareth hasn't got control of the engine, so I do wonder whether he's fishing where he wants to be fishing, because I can tell you he hasn't yet caught a fish. Well, Billy, it's warming up a little bit, and we've had a very interesting first hour or so. Interesting, I've seen a couple of bank anglers catching fish, so it kind of illustrates exactly what you were saying. And we've just potted along to find boat number 9 again, who are pretty much as close in as they're allowed to be. There's Craig Barr and Ben Beckwith, who appears to be playing what looks like a very good fish.
Yep, as I keep saying, they're in close-up feeding on the buzzer. We've seen fish rise now, coming upwind in the calmer water, and when it's cold on the water, they just won't poke their noses up. And the fish are definitely, I say, within the first 200 yards from the bank. After that, I'd go back. I wouldn't go out too far in the middle.
You know, the control points you have in this sort of fishing, we talk about this all the time. It's basically about the colour of the flies that you've tied on, the depth you fish those flies at, and you know, and the speed you're bringing the flies back, if at all.
Well, if it's too fast, it can scare fish. If it's too slow, they're suspicious. They can look at them. Fish always look up. They don't often look down, except when they're grubbing on the bottom. But most of the time, they're looking up. So if you're fishing below them, you've got no chance. So you've got to get that in their eye level or above. So it's very important that, crucial even, that you've got to get the depth right.
Well, Billy, it feels a little bit different in here. There's not a breath of wind. This is a quite famous piece of Rutland Water, isn't it?
Yeah, Barnstable is a little tiny bay. It's like a fishery in itself. And lots of guys are tucked in amongst the trees where I would be, fishing with nymphs and twiddling and static flies. We've seen fish rise. We've seen buzzer hatching. Paradise.
But what we haven't seen is anyone catch a fish yet, which amazes me when you see this water looks terrific. I mean, it is funny though, 3,500 acres of water here at Rutland, and you've got 8 boats crammed into, what's essentially a little pond, haven't you?
It is absolutely like a little private fishery, isn't it?
I'll tell you what I might get you to do at some point over this weekend, and this might take you a while because you've only got the 10 fingers, is count the international caps on the water, because there's a lot of people in this match who are internationals.
Wow, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can see one there. It's Dave Newing over there.
Boat number 49, and there is Gareth Dixon. Gareth, we saw last year in this event. I know you weren't with us, but he had a great, certainly latter part of the first day. I wonder if that's going to happen here today. But, it's interesting that he's obviously found some fish in this wonderful looking bay. Boat number 4, the Albacats. And that's James Kerr.
This is perfect conditions, and it probably was from the start as well. A lot warmer than any other place on the reservoir.
Again, that's taking him all the way around the back of the boat. That looks like a good fish.
We're nearly halfway through the match now, so and there's fish moving everywhere.
Again, playing fish when there's so much at stake, you've got to be so careful. His boat partner's having to do a bit of manoeuvring too here. Look at this.
Pulling his drogue up, yeah. That's a gentleman. And he landed it for him.
Wow. Great teamwork. Well, this is an interesting little piece of water here as well, Billy. This match is taking an interesting turn, I think. We're just seeing a couple of fish coming out of this bay too. Boat number 64 behind us. Who's that playing a fish?
It's young Tom Davis. I've known him for ages. He's a great little angler, very, very good. And it's the same recipe as I can see. It's out the wind, in the warm water, and fishing static. I mean, he's fishing absolutely beautifully on a straight line nymphing, by the looks of it, and he's hardly moving the thing at all. He's had 2 takes within about, 3 minutes.
And we saw him put a fish back, so, things going quite well for him.
Indeed.
We're kind of at the halfway point of the match, I reckon, maybe a little bit past halfway, in fact. From what you've seen so far, what do you make of the match?
I think it's going to be quite a few bags, but not. I thought it was going to be everyone was going to bag up. But it's early days yet. It's only, as you say, halfway through 4 hours. It could warm up even more.
Do you know the thing I love about this match is it's one of those that sorts the men from the boys. There's a lot of big talk beforehand about how great it's going to be and everyone's going to catch their limits and blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't take very long for Rutland to say, hold on a minute, I'm Rutland Water. You're not having it all your own way.
Exactly, that's what I always say. Men from the boys' day, that's normally the second day, but it seems to be the first day as well today. So it's been really classy bit of fishing. I think it's been too cold this morning. It was really cold this morning. It rained. Water needed to warm up. And as I said, you've got to get into the shallower water, out the wind, and that's where it warms up first. And everyone's just behind us catching as well in boat number 8. So it's obviously a lot of fish. 3 fish in about 10 minutes is not bad, is it?
There you go, things warming up here at Rutland Water. Fantastic stuff. We're into the afternoon session now, and we're just pottering about behind boat number 40, and there's a sight that will gladden the heart of any competition angler, which is Alan Porteous from Team FNF Falcons, another one of our Scottish anglers who are here on the Loch-style competition. And we've just seen Al land his 12th fish of the day. What a brilliant achievement.
3:30, magnificent on a day like today. The wind is blowing most of the reservoir out at the moment. It's too cold the other side of the reservoir, and you've got to be out of the wind. And these guys, we're up the south arm now, and I'm seeing fish moving out of the wind. It's beautiful. The water is crystal clear. And there's a boat next to us had 10 and a 5. And these boys have had a 12 and a 3. So, magnificent. Well done, guys, because it's a difficult day.
You've got to feel a little bit for Al's boatmate, Jock Kettles, who's no mean angler by any stretch, who's had 3 fish and watched his boatmate bag up. I mean, we've all been there and seen that happen. What's that like in these big comps, Bill?
Well, a lot of the time, what it is that you draw your boat pairings. If the fish are near the bank, the guy on the engine is much better off than the guy on the pointy end, as you put it. But normally, if I was fishing it, I would say to the guy, if I was on the engine, I'd say, look, cut us parallel to me, and we'll both fish the water in front of us.
I've fished with you, and you're quite bossy in a boat.
I am. But I'm fair.
Bossy but fair. But look, fair play to Al, because what we've seen 8s and 9s. As you say, we know we've got 110 over here on boat number 50 as well. So there are fish coming. It is happening.
Look how shallow he is. I mean, this is we're out about 50 yards, and they're in probably about 20 yards off the and they can't be in any water at all, and that's where they want to be. So we should be seeing fish just coming up. It's so clear.
Speaking to Andy Ainscough, who's our esteemed boat skipper today, who's been dragging us around the reservoir all morning, and Andy tells me the reservoir's about 90% full. So the depth is phenomenal, the water quality is amazing, which is why these fish look so brilliant.
And this time of year, they're like butcher's dogs. They are. They go mental. A normal stocky, you think you've got a 3-pound fish on, and no, it's great. I must say, it's the best time of year, best place to be, best conditions. What's not to like?
Well, Billy, we've seen one angler already sitting on his hands, and they're on boat 60. Paul Renwick from Ian Barr's team, WCC Flies, is another, and he finished his bag up, his 12 fish, at 250. So as far as I'm aware, Paul may be the first person to finish.
Yeah, that sounds about right. He's doing absolutely the opposite of what I told you what should be doing it. He's been roly-poly like mad, with probably something very nasty and colourful on the end. So that shuts me up, doesn't it?
I was chatting to Andy a little while ago as we were sort of cruising back, and we were talking about the mentality of this sort of fishing, because there's a couple of things at play here, aren't there? This is a big old bit of water, 3,500 acres. You've got, 120 anglers or so out here, and there's this fear of missing out, FOMO. The guys must be terrified that they're in the wrong place and everybody else is catching if it's not working. And the mentality is to go where everybody else is going. As Andy described it, it's kind of almost like a sheep mentality.
It is. And I've always been taught by the good guys that I know is that you need to have clear water in front of you. I hate it when they're all in a pack. Even when you're in a pack, you want to look for the clearest water you can. And I mean, you've got to make sure no one has been over that bit that you're fishing on.
One person we haven't seen, who I'm very keen to find out who's doing, is Ian Barr, who was going off to do something different. I've not seen him once today. It's easy to hide out here. So I'd quite like to find Ian. It sounds like his team are doing okay, and it also sounds like a couple of other people have bagged up on Barnsdale.
Yeah, I would think so. And we haven't seen Mark the Cloud either.
No, we haven't. Man in form.
No, man in form, yes. He's won a couple of comps on this lake already this year. But he's probably found somewhere. He probably found somewhere that no one else is going to. Lucky boy.
So as the boats returned to the jetty after a tough and sometimes frustrating day, it was clear Rutland Water had indeed been firmly in charge of the fishing. Of 120 anglers, only 13 caught their 12-fish bag. But there were a few teams who definitely got their tactics right. Among them, and on top of the pile after the first day, the Welsh Fishhawks. They were brilliantly led by Gareth Dixon and Russell Owen, who both had a dozen fish each. In second, Ian Barr's WCC flies were 11 fish and 18 pounds behind. The FNF Falcons were third. Of the teams struggling to get it right on day one, defending champions Menteith Ospreys and Gareth Jones's team, the FNF Nymphomaniacs, were both out of the running. It was time for a rethink, refocus, and to prepare for another day of incredible Loch-style fly fishing at Rutland Water. Well, Gaz, morning of the second day, you guys had a hell of a day yesterday. What was that like?
Yeah, it's nice to be up there, isn't it? But it's all to do today. Cool heads, and we'll go out and try and do the job, isn't it?
You guys focused on this, aren't you?
Yeah, we had 10 days practice on us, so we've been down here, put the time in. You only get out to what you put the time into, yeah. So we're looking forward to it.
In a field like this, what would it mean to your team to win this event?
Oh, it'd be brilliant. You know, it is the best of the best I hear, isn't it? So it'd be nice to be up there tonight. We'll just wait and see how it goes.
Very best of luck, mate.
Thank you very much.
Well, Mr. Barr, all yesterday I tried to find you out on this 3,500 acre reservoir and I couldn't. Where did you go? What happened?
I was hiding. I was in with the boys. I struggled, to be fair. My guys are sitting on 10, 8, and I'm on 1 at 2:30. But Friday's homework paid off. A couple of little sneaky bays on my own and winkled 8 in the last couple of hours. So a great comeback. Happy with 9 when it could have been 1. Disaster.
But you guys now, you're in second place, you know, a couple of great performances, Scotty with 12, you had a great day. You're right up there, Ian.
Yeah, so team. I said yesterday morning, team performance, team strategy. So the strategy worked. A couple of lads had a bit of a shocker, but it happens in a team. Every team's going to have a bad rod. So today we've got to pull it round, pull it together, and Welsh Hawks are good, but I'm in with a hawk today, so...
Yeah, you and David Hoppy you've got history, haven't you?
We have history, and history will be repeated today. He will be beaten.
Well, Billy, what a morning. This place looks incredible.
Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous, isn't it? And hopefully the fishing will be even better today because the wind has dropped a bit and then that sort of nastiness goes out of it, and hopefully we're going to get a big hatch today. That's what I've been really hoping, and really bring the fish on to feed.
Do you know, looking at those results from yesterday, we've got some incredible fishing ahead of us today. We're fishing 10 o'clock till 5 today, so an hour shorter. The boats have disappeared off to various parts of this incredible reservoir. There are some fascinating pairings coming up. You've got the Welsh Hawks leading, Ian Barr's team in second. Anybody from the next 5 down, I reckon, is in with a bit of a chance, although the Welsh Hawks have got a really, really good lead, haven't they? How are people going to claw that back?
Well, it's people failing and other people succeeding, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really, that's guys who've had a bad day yesterday. Hopefully, they will turn it around today. It's such a weird thing, the 2-day match, and the other thing about it is that it's shorter, the day, so that it's very hard to catch that back. You know, that was a good lead. And the other thing I found fascinating about yesterday was how many boats where one guy did really well and the other guy, who are great anglers, I know, did absolutely rubbish. But all those guys are all capable of coming in with match-winning bags today. I mean, that's what's fascinating about it. That's what really does the two-day game. You know, you feel like you won it on the first day, but it's not like that. They could, all the guys that did, you know, they all could go pink tong today.
Well, look, we've got some incredible fishing ahead of us, so we best get on with it. Well, Billy, we've made our way to this fantastic piece of water just below Old Hall, here on Rutland Water. And we're looking over at boat 14 as this match gets underway today. The man on the engine, Russ Owen, leading the Welsh Hawks at the top of the pile. What a fantastic angler this man is. Former world champion, of course. Brilliant.
Very nice man as well. He's a lovely bloke. Just amazing. They're in this depth of water and there's a clarity. We're 200, well, 100 yards away from it, and we can see the bottom and everything. It's fantastic, isn't it?
We're about 15, 20 minutes into the match, and Russ has had one fish, but Jim Crawford from Change Fly Fishing, next door on the pointy end, has had 2 fish, and this fish that he landed, I mean, I'll tell you what was really impressive about that was, first of all, the take was phenomenal, but secondly, the speed that he got it in,
Russ,
and
look.
Russ is in as well.
Fantastic, look at that. We saw the line lift and everything, it was brilliant. This is obviously heaving with fish down here. I thought it would be, but it's going to be a great match. And it's bright sunlight, and we've seen fish move as well, haven't we, on the top?
Do you know, it's such a privilege to be this close to these guys when they're fishing in a competition, to be able to see someone like Russ Owen fishing, you know, watching his concentration levels, watching his hands, so sort of precise and delicate almost, the way that he's controlling those flies and lifting the rod tip right at the very end.
Hanging it, seems like he's hanging it now, hanging the nymphs away from the boat, far away as he can get it from the boat. I'm not quite sure what line he's got on, but I think he's got what they call a tip. It's like probably a 4 foot of intermediate line on the end.
So a little bit of the line sinks, basically.
Yeah, a little bit of the line sinks and just hangs the fly at the right level.
Well, Billy, the thing that struck me today, looking at the draw for the boats, was there are some immense pairings, and we're looking at one of them. This is boat number 8, on the pointy end, Ian Barr, double world champion, and on the engine, David Hoppy from the Welsh Fishhawks. Welsh Fishhawks leading overall, Ian's team in second. This boat, I kind of think, encompasses the whole match today, doesn't it?
It does indeed. It's a lot of boats here, and it's like a formal orderly queue behind the world champion by the looks of it. But he's fishing across the wind on the pointy end, as you said, which is quite a difficult thing to do. So what you do is you angle out about 45 degrees when you're casting instead of straight down the line, and he's bringing his nymphs around in an arc. Very, very good technique. Great technique.
I mean, he's an ultimate competitor, and I know Hoppy is too. The interesting thing also, these two have got history in this match, you know. 2 years ago, they fished as a boat pairing, and I think Hoppy beat Ian.
He occasionally gets beaten.
Yeah, he doesn't tell you about that, does he?
Never says anything about that.
Now, the interesting thing with these two, at the moment, it's 2 apiece. They've had 2 fish each, which just neck and neck. It's just fantastic. I suppose the thing to discuss today also is the fact that, you know, the Welsh Fishhawks really have got it all to lose, haven't they? I mean, they're so far ahead, I suppose, going into day 2. If they do lose this, I mean, they'll be asking a few questions of themselves.
Well, there's a pack all around about 40 fish, and we're about 17 fish ahead of them on 57, and a good 17 pound in weight. So, you know, the team that's in that pack is going to do incredibly well, and they've got to do incredibly badly. So that's the only hope. If they can just maintain their nerve, everyone catches a few fish, I think they'll be there.
If any of the teams chasing the Welsh Hawks are in with a chance of trying to catch up, boat number 5 could provide a little bit of hope, because on the engine, Matt Russell from the FNF Nymphomaniacs has had 4 fish, but on the point there is the other Gareth Jones, not our Gareth Jones, but Gareth G. Jones, who unfortunately hasn't had a fish yet. 2 hours into the match, and he's still struggling to get that first rainbow onto the boat. And for every fish the Welsh Fishhawks don't catch, it gives teams like Ian Barr's side and the FNF Falcons in third just a little glimmer of hope that he could possibly pull some ground back. Well, Billy, I know this will gladden your heart, because they're in boat number 7, Phil Shaw-Brown on the point, and Paul Renwick on the engine. And there is Phil landing a fish. And what did he catch it on?
He got it on Billy the Bung.
On the bung. Yeah, interesting, isn't it? I mean, it is almost like waggler fishing, you know. You're fishing a float, aren't you, essentially? It's brilliant presentation, though.
The thing is, it's got to be capable of catching a fish, which they are. Quite often you would be surprised how many fish will come up and whack that big orange thing, or I use a sort of like a floating fry. That's my go-to bung. I always use a floating fry, but, you know, so I always say if they start knocking that about, you should be on the dries.
Yeah, very true. Well, boat 13, Andrew Scott on the engine from Ian Barr's team. Scotty, one of the anglers who caught 12 fish yesterday, catching his limit, but it's his boat partner who seems to be having the advantage at the moment. Scotty's had 1 rainbow and 2 brown trout, which, until he catches his 3 rainbows, are no use to him at all. But the situation at the other end of the boat is that Willie Leach from Change Fly Fishing has just had his 3rd rainbow trout. So again, things not going quite as well as they ought to for Ian Barr's team. Well, there's boat 44 on the engine, another one of the Welsh Hawks, Christian Jones, on the engine playing a fish. Jake Belgium on the other end, and that looks like a nice fish. Just such a secluded, wonderful little place to fish, this bay. We've seen some fascinating stuff at the other end with Paul Renwick and Phil Shaw-Brown, and that fish is giving Christian the right run around. I think he's got it under control though. His net's going out safely in. Let's just see. He's on his feet, just about to unhook it. It does look to me as if the Welsh Hawks are in command here. And when you've got people like Paul Renwick not actually catching as many as his boat partner, John Buchanan in boat number 6, another one of Ian Barr's team, is also struggling. So it is a tough old day again, and hardly a surprise with the conditions we have. But hold on a minute, there's Scotty, and it looks like he's hooked something half decent. Now the question he'll be asking himself at the moment is whether that, Mr. Rankin, is a rainbow trout or a brown one, because he's already had 2 brownies and a rainbow. Unless he gets 2 more rainbows, it's no use to him at all, is it?
Well, that's 2 fish lost if he doesn't get his rainbows. Yeah, it's an interesting rule, isn't it? Because it's, especially with the amount of brown trout in here at the moment, they're absolutely fantastic. But we're trying to keep them here, and they last a long time.
Oh, they're special fish.
Special, absolutely gorgeous. Especially the ones here. They pack on so much weight during the year. It's incredible. I mean, you can fish for them right up to near enough Christmas, and they're willing fish. They're brilliant.
I hate to say this for Scotty's purpose, but that looks like it's fighting like a brownie.
Yeah, it looks like a big fish, yeah. Look, and across there, 44's in as well.
Yeah, that's Jake Belgium.
Place is heaving, isn't it?
I mean, it does look fantastic. Well, he's got that in the net. Now, the question is it a rainbow or is it a brown? That's a good fish. Look at the size of that.
Yeah. Is he going to clonk it? Yeah, we don't want.
Well, it's a rainbow, so that's a great sign for Scotty.
And it's a good fish as well. That'll be good for the team count.
Oh, we'll be pleased with that one, Billy.
Yeah, 1 more to go, and then he's got a really good bag.
It was around about lunchtime and had a little bit of a surprise pottering past the entrance here and to the pontoon, because we saw boat number 46 in. The 2 derricks here have bagged up, so that means both of these 2 anglers have had their 12 fish. And you finished, guys, what time?
1:05. We both got our last fish, so we did.
Double hook up.
Yeah, double hook up on the buzzers.
So just talk us through your tactics then. How's it all worked this morning, Derek?
Derek here went out straight lining.
Straight line buzzers on a buzzer tip. 3 size 10 buzzers. You were on a.
I was on fab and buzzers on a midge tip, and we started getting to fish straight away up Yellowstone Bay, and we knew the bay before had brown trout in it, but we kind of stayed off them until we got our 3 kill, and you started really hooking into the fish on the buzzer tip, so we both switched to that, and then we just kept running over them and kind of had it to ourselves, to be honest.
I mean, it's a fabulous day anyway. The weather's amazing, gorgeous fishing conditions. But to have a morning like that when it's been so tough for a lot of people, what a fantastic performance. Well done.
Thanks very much.
Yeah, it was a shame to come off.
Yeah, I felt a bit gutted. Wish we could still stay on them, to be honest.
That was good.
Well, look, I do need to show you one thing. I need to get Derek to show you one thing, because he was showing us the buzzers that he's been using. I've got to say, I've never seen a neater fly box than this. This is phenomenal. Have a look in here. So just talk us through what we've got here, Derek.
So this is your patterns that we generally fish most down here. Size 10s, 12s on this side. and the difference in size can be the difference between catching fish and not catching fish on a day. And just chuck it out, and the trick was not to move it. Keep your hands still, and they were just locking up.
Billy's been banging on about that all weekend, you know.
Don't move your hands.
Yeah.
Never move your hands.
It's something a lot of anglers struggle with, but if you can crack it, you can have some really good sport.
Just give us a picture of how much tying's in there, Derek. How many hours are in that box?
I care to think. Ridiculous, to be honest. There's a few evenings there, but in the winter, that's what to do. Keeps you off the beer, I suppose.
And you were saying that that box is actually quite empty because all your teammates have nicked all your flies.
Yeah,
I'm not surprised.
There's a few missing, so there is. I should probably start charging them now, to be honest.
Well, you can if you bagged up. The frightening thing is he's got a box over there with about 10 boxes like that in it. But fellas, congratulations. Brilliant performance.
Cheers.
Thanks
Thank
very
you.
much.
Cheers.
Appreciate that.
Well, there are the two Derricks having completed their bag up, 12 fish each, enjoying a spot of Rutland sunshine and still fishing, obviously, Billy. Do you know the thing that's disappointed me most about what they said to me earlier on was that you've been right all along. For 2 days you've been banging on about people not moving their flies and fishing buzzers and blah blah blah, and that's what they both did. There we are.
Oh well, sometimes the old boy's right, you know. But I do know my Rutland this time of year. I love it. I say the least you can do, the better. And I tell you, it's one. And I was saying to those guys earlier, it's one of the hardest things to do, not to do anything.
Yeah.
It is so hard to stop moving, you know, after your flies, and you know that's exactly why I invented the bung. But they weren't doing that; they were straight lining, which I have
on the
learned to
bung.
do.
He's on the bung again, guys. He's on. Listen, there's a few hours left in this competition yet. It's actually getting warmer. The wind's dropped even more, Billy. We're going to potter off to find some other people to see if they're catching some fish, because we're now right at the sharp end of this match. These conditions are just stunning. I mean, look at this place. It's like a mirror out here now. The wind's dropped away completely. Last 2 hours of the match, we're right at the sharp end, aren't we?
We are indeed. I mean, it's gone completely. Conditions yesterday to this is just, you know, that's what makes a match special, a 2-day match special. And we're watching a guy hopefully going to bag up very shortly, and it's going to be look.
There's Kevin Porteous into a fish, but it's Wayne Jones on the engine who is on 11 fish. Now, Kevin has struggled, and isn't that just the case when you're fishing in a big competition like this? You're desperate for that last fish. Wayne's had 11. His team are on top of the pile and in with a great chance of lifting the title. They set themselves up on a gorgeous drift like that, and it's Kevin Porteous who hooks into a fish. But Kev's had from what I can gather, I just had a little word with him as he motored past us. He's not had a great day, so it's good to see him with a bend in his rod.
Yeah, but it's that 11th fish or you know, the 12th fish. It's sometimes going to completely do your head in. You know, you just think, oh, I got, and how many you missed during the day, and a couple of takes you missed during the day, and you think, oh, it would have been done, and you know, all that sort of psychology comes into it, and and then suddenly your retrieve starts to stiffen up or go a little bit too fast. You're not relaxing, and it's sometimes going to be an absolute nightmare.
When you've got the potential to win a massive competition like the Spring Invitational, the adrenaline as you get down the sharp end must be flying. You know, people don't think of that in fishing, but it happens.
Oh, it does. And I mean, you come off mentally strained, you know. I mean, like, you know, on a big one like this, that, you know, suddenly you go, I could have, I would have, I should have, you know, all comes back to you. And then, you know, I've known people who've had a cracking day and they still beat themselves up.
What's going through Wayne Jones's head then on that engine at the moment? Just try and put yourself in his head for a couple of minutes. You know, his team are top. He's on 11. What's going through his head?
Just keep your head down, keep in the groove, you know, keep in the zone, and it'll happen. That's all you can really do, you know. And it's fate, you know. That boat a little bit 6 foot the other way, that could have been his fish, you know, and it was Kevin's. So it's they know they're there, they know what they're doing. You just got to keep your head. That's all.
Well, the fish hunt continues for the Welsh Fish Hawks as we get down to the dying stages of this match, and it really is starting to look as if things are in their favour. There's boat number 3 on the point, Gareth Dixon, who's got 10 fish, and on the engine, his boatmate Kevin Neri, who also has 10 fish. Billy, they moved up here in search of some bigger quarry, I think some brown trout, and although it looks fantastic, I think they're struggling to find a take, aren't they?
It's getting harder and harder. It's gone 3 now, 3:45. Another hour of the match. 2-day match is the last. You know, coming into the last hour, it gets difficult.
You did say actually yesterday 4 o'clock's kind of the cut-off time sometimes, and we're right there now, aren't we?
Yeah, the big switch, I call it. It just suddenly the whole lake just turns off. It doesn't. In the morning, it's sort of about 11 o'clock. It switches on because it's cold, and then in the afternoon they seem to go about sort of, and then they'll come back tonight. This place will be absolutely fish everywhere. I bet tonight, all coming up on the midge, especially after this lovely bit of heat for an evening rise.
Back at base after a long, hot day on the water, the Welsh Hawks compared notes. Led once again by Gareth Dixon, Russ Owen and a superb return of 11 fish on both days from Wayne Jones. The Hawks landed 52 fish in total on day 2, the best return of any team out there. It was perhaps a little hard to bear for those who wanted the title but fell a little short. The reality was 109 fish caught by the incredible Hawks over 2 days simply beat everyone. Proof that practice really does make perfect.
So it gives me great pleasure to finally call up the Welsh Hawks. I know these guys have put in more practice than anybody else. Well done guys, come and get your prizes.
Well, Russ, you're holding the trophy. How is that?
Yeah, it's great. We come close last year, so it's great to finally get your hands on it. You know, it's very prestigious, and we're very grateful and honoured that we've been able to finally get our hands on it. The last couple of years, we've pushed it on the door. We won the autumn event last year, so we are banging form. We always put in that little bit extra, and yeah, it's I've got a few goosebumps actually getting it in my hand. You know, it feels fabulous. But we are a fantastic team, and we're not just a team that show up together to go fishing. We're actually best mates and all. You know, we spend spare time with each other, so that's what helps make a team is being together and being friends like that, and you get that bit extra out of the squad when it's like that. You know, your little things come together.
You seem quite emotional.
Yeah, it is because I'm not involved with individual matches anymore, but the team events, the buzz you have and the camaraderie that you have, it gives me goosebumps just doing it, yeah, and to finally get our hands on it is superb. Yeah.
Do you know, one of your opponents said something very nice, which will probably touch you earlier on. He said, "You deserve to win this because you're the best team in Europe."
Well, that's for others to say. Yeah, we've got a great bunch of guys, and they can handle nearly every discipline going, and you know, we put that little bit extra in, and it's like most things in life: what you put in, you get out, and we put a bit extra in, and we're getting it out. You know, that's
fair play to you, mate. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thanks very much. Yeah.
Well, Rutland Water is still roasting hot, and I tell you what, it's been a roasting hot weekend of fly fishing. It's been extraordinary. Gareth, we have you as co-commentator for the last couple of years. You've been out on the water. What's it been like from the perspective of a competitor this time?
Horrendous. It was lovely commentating. You could just see everything happening, and you could see how people were catching fish, and it was just really easy, and I caught them all in my sleep. But yesterday, when I went out to do it myself, I come in with 1 fish. I did nothing different today in real terms, and today I come in with 10 fish. You know, it's like, that's the way it goes. But Rutland Water's been exceptional, Andy. We've had over 1,400 fish caught between the competitors over 2 days. It's insane. These conditions are really tough. You know, you had flat calm today, bright sunshine, and it's still fishing his head off. No, but You know, you've got guys out here who know to catch them as well, which makes a huge difference. So, you know, well done. Kudos to the competitors, but bigger kudos to Rutland Water. It's insane.
Just a little word about Loch-style fly fishing, because to the outside world, it's a bit of a strange sport, isn't it? You know, it's very niche. But when you see the quality of the anglers here today, and this event has grown year on year on year since you started it, what does that mean to you?
Oh, it means everything to me. You know, I've been involved for 30 years in competition fly fishing. It's everything. You know, to see all these guys, compete against them, all my friends. You know, there's 120 people that I know. You know, it's just exceptional. I love it.